You've often heard me say most rookies are bad, so we have to set reasonable expectations with this rookie class. We'll do that next on Locked On Packers.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast to iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. You will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode of Locked On Packers brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox, no console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Most rookies are bad. I had a pair of brothers come up to me with a t-shirt at the draft that said most rookies are bad, with the Locked On Packers logo on it, which I appreciated. And that's why it's very important that we set reasonable expectations for what this rookie class is going to be. So let's just assume, for the sake of argument, a middle of the road outcome based on opportunity, based on, again, assuming these players are baseline expectation for where they were picked. That's what we have to figure out here. And what the offense, the defense, the special teams is going to ask of them specifically based on their skill sets. The Matthew Golden pick is an easy one. Because if you look at the numbers, the targets last year, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and Romeo Doubs were within 4 targets of one another. Jaden Reed had 75. Dontavian Wicks led the team with 76. Yes, Dontavian Wicks led the team in targets last year with 76. And Romeo Doubs had 72. Well, Christian Watson, who played 15 games, started 15 games, only had 53 targets. And one of the reasons is his yards per reception was 6 yards higher than anybody else's. Christian Watson averaged 21.4 yards per catch last year. In terms of role, he comes into this offense as the vertical Z receiver right away. He's going, and forget about what Christian Watson was as a rookie in terms of, okay, jet sweep player, gadget player. Matthew Golden is on this team in year 1 to clear out defenses. Matthew Golden doesn't have to be some nuanced route runner. He doesn't have to be some third down ball winner. He doesn't have to be someone who you say, okay, one-on-one against their best corner, you go win. That's not what the offense is going to ask of him right away. Maybe he can get there eventually. That's not what he has to do. Just go be the vertical clear out player in this offense. Run real fast for starters. That's all you really need to do to replace the value that Christian Watson brought. Now, as we talked about when he was drafted, a lot of the things that Christian Watson did from a man coverage beating perspective is Matt LaFleur set him up to isolate in space against a corner running to open space. Clear out a side and let Christian Watson work across the field. That is certainly something that Matthew Golden can do. And then it's just a matter of be fast enough and Jordan Love put the ball on him. So if you told me that he had, and Watson in 15 starts last year only had 29 catches on 53 targets for 620 yards, but that's a lot of yards. If you told me Matthew Golden had 620 yards on 29 catches as a rookie, I would go, yeah, that seems right. And that seems solid. Like that would be a good start for the Packers. Now, would they want more than that? Sure. Would you like it to be 80 targets and 40 catches? Yeah, you would. But remember, because he's going to be playing what I think is going to be a more vertical route tree, those are harder passes to complete from an attempt perspective. They're often more difficult catches down the field. You got to track the ball, look in the lights, all those things. So don't expect like crazy high catch rates and efficiency, but expect efficiency in terms of what he's able to create vertically. In this draft class, only Travis Hunter had as many explosive plays last year as Matthew Golden. And that's with Quinn Ewers at quarterback. So I think that's an easy 1-for-1 here. Now, Bo Melton seems like the obvious place to take some of these targets for Savion Williams. He's going to be taking a lot of the jet sweep. Like I don't think Bo Melton is going to make this team. So he's going to there were 8 jet sweeps for 54 yards from Bo Melton, 17 targets. I think the Packers generally are going to throw the ball more. But if you put that out into, now he only played, Bo Melton only played, or did not start any games, but played in all 17 games. Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton. The 3 receivers to play in all 17 games. I know that if we did a trivia question, those would probably not be your 3 answers. But I think what you can bank on is they're just going to throw the ball more this year. But even so, even if you doubled those numbers, and let's say he gets 34 targets, Savion Williams, that's only 2 throws a game. And let's say you double the rushing attempts from Bo Melton, that's only 1 a game. So now we're talking about 3 touches a game. And by the way, I think if he's also a kick returner, which he hasn't done in a while, but certainly has the pedigree for it, the athleticism for it, that's fine. Like that's fine. That's a totally reason for a 3rd round pick. If he's a quality role player in year 1, just do some little things here and there. If he's just Bo Melton at volume or at a greater volume, you double Bo Melton. Like for a 3rd round pick, that's fine. And then you hope in 2026, when you have a little bit more information, you're probably going to move on from Romeo Doubs. You're probably going to move on from Christian Watson, but we'll see. Then there's more opportunity and you hope that he's improved. The nuances, the route running, the whole year in the NFL potentially benefits him. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Before we switch to defense, I think it's a little trickier with Anthony Belton because if he is just the swing tackle or the swing lineman, frankly, because I think he could be a swing tackle or a swing interior player this year, that's fine. Because you need those players. The Packers had one of the healthiest offensive lines in the league last year, but we saw the downfall in the playoff game when they just didn't have enough bodies. Travis Glover, Kadeem Telfort. Anthony Belton certainly has to beat those guys out. So if he like looks good, but Sean Ryan is the starting right guard and Jordan Morgan and Rasheed Walker compete at left tackle, maybe Jordan Morgan ends up competing at right guard. You don't really need Anthony Belton to do anything in year 1 except be solid and be ready because he's going to have to play. Like the realities of the NFL say he's going to have to play at some point, especially Elton Jenkins. If he gets hurt, do they have a backup center? Do you move Sean Ryan to center and then Anthony Belton? Like there's a lot of shuffling that has to happen here. And just to close the loop on offense here, John Williams, the 7th round pick, he just compete to make the roster. Like you're a 7th round pick, complete to make the roster, make the practice squad. They don't really need him. And I would be surprised if he ends up being ahead of Telfort and some of these other players. I would be surprised. Doesn't mean he couldn't do it, but we're talking about reasonable expectations here. And so compete to make the roster. That would be good enough for a 7th round pick. Get on the practice squad. Hope you can be a developmental something. That's enough. Defense is a little bit more complicated here, I think. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Packers. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game, though you would like your team to win. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Plus, all-in prices means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, the lowest price, guaranteed. The defense is trickier here because these are day 3 players. So what is a reasonable expectation for Barryn Sorrell? What is a reasonable expectation for Warren Brinson, for Colin Oliver, for Micah Robinson, for Nazir Stackhouse, for Jamon Dumas-Johnson? And I included those last 2 as UDFAs because I think they have legitimate opportunities to go try and make this team. But it's not going to be easy. Let's start with Sorrell. So we mentioned, hey, this is sort of your Kingsley and Igbare situation. Except Kingsley and Igbare's on the team still. This is part of the issue. So do you have to beat out, like Kingsley and Igbare beat out Lucas Van Ness last year. You're not expecting a 4th round pick to come in and play, last year, 47% of defensive snaps for Kingsley and Igbare. That's just not a reasonable thing to expect because Kingsley's still going to play. Probably going to play more than Brenton Cox, regardless of what happens with Barryn Sorrell. So how do you split this stuff up? I think that's going to be a tricky thing. And unless Enigbare somehow doesn't make the team or something like that, there's going to be someone squeezed out of here. Brenton Cox ends up playing 35% of defensive snaps last year. But if you look at the second half of the year, there were games where he played over 40. Now, one is a blowout loss to New Orleans. But he played 40% of snaps against Minnesota, played 45% of snaps against San Francisco. That's a real snap share. So what is Barryn Sorrell? Like if he's the 5th pass rusher, I think what you'd like to have happen is you find a way for Lucas Van Ness to play a little D tackle in some pass rush situations, maybe. You find opportunities to stand up Rashawn Gary in the A gap. You get creative with this front. Sorrell playing 20%, 25% of snaps, 30% of snaps at most is a win for him and for the Packers. Like they're expecting Rashawn Gary to play 65, 70% of snaps. I think they're hoping Lucas Van Ness plays well enough that he can play 60% of snaps. And then you're giving 30, 35 from Kingsley Enagbare, 20, 25 to Brenton Cox, 20, 25 to Barryn Sorrell. And, you're mixing and matching, right? Those numbers don't have to add up perfectly to 100, but because you're going to mix and match. That's probably enough. Like if he plays as much as Lucas Van Ness did as a rookie, I think, frankly, that would be a little bit of an upset. And Lucas Van Ness didn't play that much as a rookie. He played 33% of defensive snaps as a rookie, played 39% last year. I don't think the expectation should be that Sorrell plays 33% of snaps. I think it should be like 20 to 25%. Because they like Brenton Cox for a reason. So this is the first one where you have to okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit on this. Everyone's excited about him. I'm excited about him. I think he can be a really good player. I think more likely that really good player is 26, 27, not 25. Now, how do you do this with Colin Oliver? 5th round pick, not nothing in the scheme of things. And I think the question here hinges on what position does he play? They gave him 45 as a number. That was Eric Wilson's number, who did play some strong side linebacker for the Packers. And I think you're going to see Oliver play some off the ball. I think you're going to see him as a designated pass rusher. And it would not be surprising to me if it just turns out he's like the 3rd best linebacker on this team right away. Wouldn't be surprising at all. But it would be unreasonable to expect that. Now, they rotated linebackers a lot last year. Like a lot. Between Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker, Eric Wilson, Isaiah McDuffie, they rotated these guys a lot, especially early in the season before it became clear Edgerrin Cooper just had to play. Eric Wilson last year played 51% of snaps, but also started a bunch. Because, God forbid you start Edgerrin Cooper, even though it's obvious he's the best player. Now, he was hurt too. So how do you really, make sense of that? You can't really look at the snap counts from last year because it's the same thing with Isaiah McDuffie. He was the starter when it was obvious that just didn't really make sense. Edgerrin Cooper needed to be out there. Isaiah McDuffie played 64% of snaps. He's not going to do that again. I think Quay Walker is going to play 100%. And I think Edgerrin Cooper is going to play something close to 100%. So then how much is that 3rd linebacker really going to be on the field? And then who is that guy going to be? For starters, it's going to be Isaiah McDuffie. We'll see what they want to do with Isaiah Simmons. We don't know what that looks like. If you asked me who are the 4 most talented linebackers on this team, I would tell you Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, Isaiah Simmons, and Colin Oliver. But Tyron Hopper's a draft pick. He's been in the system for a year. They really like what Christian Welch gives them. He played really well last preseason. And Isaiah McDuffie is teacher's pet. He's the coach's guy. They re-signed him. So Colin Oliver, be a special teams player. See if you can fight your way into a second half opportunity share, much like Brenton Cox did when they traded Preston Smith in the middle of the year. Maybe the Packers get enough out of someone like Barryn Sorrell that they go, hey, Kingsley Enagbare, you got him. And then that opens a door for Colin Oliver to play 20%, 25% of snaps. He's going to be a special teams player to start. And then you're going to have to figure out what kind of role you want to give him on defense. I think that's true for Warren Brinson too. Now, he's not going to be a special teams player, but he's going to need an injury to be an impact player here, it looks like. Because Devontae Wyatt, we're going to talk at the end about, he got picked up. They believe in him. That 5th-year option got picked up. Kenny Clark is your nose tackle. And they were not afraid last year to play Carl Brooks at the nose. They want to get Carl Brooks on the field. They were not afraid to play Colby Wooden at the nose. Now, do they want to get him on the field? Probably not. Now, TJ Slayton, I don't think Warren Brinson is just going to be a 1-for-1 TJ Slayton replacement. Slayton last year in Green Bay, 2 years ago, played over half of snaps. Last year, he didn't. Last year, he played 39% of defensive snaps. Brinson is a 6th round pick. And you're definitely behind at least 3 interior players on this team. I think 20, 25%. And you also have to beat out your teammate, Nazir Stackhouse, who was widely seen as the better prospect coming into the draft. Can he do that? We'll see. It is going to be Colby Wooden and one of these guys for that last interior spot. Are they going to keep more than 4? If they keep 5, I think you could see a situation where Colby Wooden is just flat out cut. Where it's Wyatt, Clark, Brooks, Brinson, Stackhouse. Would not be surprising to me in the least. Now, we're talking about nose tackles. We're talking about late round picks. Like, could they cut one of these guys, sneak them back on the practice squad? One of these rookies, yeah, they might be able to. But you also don't have a long-term plan at nose tackle. You probably want to give both of these guys a shot if you can. And it wouldn't be surprising to me at all if Nazir Stackhouse was the guy who ends up winning this job as the backup nose in this defense, though that nominally is going to be probably Carl Brooks to some degree as well. And lastly here, Micah Robinson. I think he has a chance to compete to be the dime, but Kamal Hayden is the holdover. If Jair Alexander is back, then you've got Ja, Keyshawn, Hobbs, Valentine. That's already 4. Plus Bullard is your nickel, plus Kalen King. It's getting tight. I think competing for a roster spot for Micah Robinson is a win. I think long-term he's got some opportunities to play, be the dime back. But competing to make this team is a win for him. And I think the same is true for Jamon Dumas Johnson. Like, I think he can be the 4th best linebacker on this team, the 5th best linebacker on this team by training camp. They should have no allegiances to Hopper. If he doesn't show real progress, they're going to have no allegiances to Isaiah Simmons. If he doesn't establish a role for himself, they're going to have no allegiances to Christian Welch, who they cut last year. I like Dumas Johnson a lot. I said it in the post-draft comments. But competing to make the team, that's a reasonable expectation for him. Is there more out there for him? Yes, there is. It's not like he's going to start, but I think he can meet to be a rotational linebacker on this team. I really do. All right, let's talk about Devonte Wyatt because he's coming back for at least for that 5th-year option. This also has some trickle-down effects for Quay Walker. We're going to talk about all of that next on Locked On Packers. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. What if you could jump into your favorite Xbox titles without needing your console in every room? Do you ever find yourself flipping between apps to find one place that just works? With Fire TV Stick 4K, everything's in one place, from Netflix to YouTube and beyond. So go to Amazon.com/FireTV-LOCKED-ON. One word, Fire TV Locked On to get started. XPass Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd generation. Thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. The NFL draft is over, but the roster moves and news never stop. Host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Devonte Wyatt reportedly has that 5th-year option picked up. And Brian Gutekunst, how many times do I have to tell you? He will say what he's going to do. He will tell you what he's going to do, whether explicitly or tonally. And he said explicitly, we want to sign these guys. We want them to, whether it's the option or it's a contract, we want these guys to be a part of our team moving forward. So for Devonte Wyatt, that means a reasonable number on a 5th-year option, at least for a defensive tackle. It is much less reasonable for Quay Walker, who would immediately become one of the 5 highest paid linebackers in the league. And that is crazy. That's crazy. Banking on Wyatt to develop when he has been their most explosive interior pass rusher, certainly was last year. Injuries hurt that development. There's plenty of upside here to be excited about for the Packers. If I'd have told you a year ago that that's where this was headed, I would have said that's surprising. But look, Jordan Davis just got his 5th-year option picked up too. He was a higher pick who has produced less impact play than Devonte Wyatt. Is certainly a less impactful pass rusher, and it's not close. And that interior pressure is so valuable. It's so valuable for teams. And the Packers didn't get it from Kenny Clark last year. So this is some Kenny Clark insurance. You need someone. If last year was not just an injury, it was a cliff, And you hope that's not the case, but it could be the case. You need that pass rush upside. You need that interior disruptive force. Him and Carl Brooks, especially on third downs, like that's a nice group to have rushing the passer on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. Now, what a long-term deal looks like there, he's got to be able to prove he can be a starter, a no-doubt starter. But that's this year. And then if he's not that, he's still a rotational pass rusher on what is a reasonable deal. Like the 5th-year option for a defensive tackle. This is, by the way, why you do this in the first round. This is why you pick premium positions, because if you're getting a good player, that option number, okay, is going to be high in the first round, but if you have a good player, you're getting them at below market value. So Devontae Wyatt at $13 million, it's $12.9 million in 2026. Well, that's like what a starting defensive tackle costs now. Quay Walker getting 15, 16 million. That's like Patrick Queen money. That's high-end free agent money. And that is not now, nor has that ever been what Quay Walker is as a player. Now, there was, and I went back and looked this up, there was that stretch in the middle of the year. So he got hurt, missed the Jacksonville game, played for a month at an extremely high level. Top 10 in a bunch of categories, top 15 Pro Football Focus numbers in a bunch of categories. Was a legitimate, above average linebacker. Quality linebacker. Much more active. The lights seemed to go on, more aggressive, coming downhill, making plays, fitting the run especially, tackling, finishing. That was what he was so good at Georgia. He would just not miss tackles, and that was not the case in the NFL. Then gets hurt again, unfortunately, but comes back and is excellent against the Eagles. And we got a glimpse at the Cooper-Walker pairing and was like, okay, what is this? This could be really, really good. But you want to see more, and you don't want to commit the money that would be required to do it for Quay Walker. That's why I have been advocating and will continue to advocate for the Jordan Love contract, the first Jordan Love contract. So you take the money that he was going to get, spread it out over 2 years in total guarantees. Maybe you add to it in terms of total guarantees, and you give some money up front. I think that's a totally reasonable way to handle this. Now, the Packers, we've seen them do it. Like, we know that they are willing to do that. The other part of this is Quay Walker in 2025 is only making $2.5 million in base salary. His option in 2026 is $14.7 million. So almost 15, I was exaggerating a little, $15 million. It's almost $15 million. Again, would make him one of the highest paid linebackers in the league. So what you could do is take that $15 million in guaranteed money plus the 2.5 that you're going to get here, and you call it 20. But then you say this is a 2-year, $20 million deal. And you give some signing bonus money up front. And then maybe you add some incentives in there. Now, I think Wendell Fajero, who I talked about this on social media, was right to point out that when they did this with Jordan Love, we didn't know what Jordan Love was. Quay Walker has a 3-year track record of what he is. But first round pick, obviously they thought very highly of him. They see the upside. They could talk themselves into, you see that month, and then to come back from injury. It wasn't just a hot streak, wasn't just in a groove, comes back and plays really well against Philly. To try and get that on the cheap when, hey, look, if he comes out and has that 4-game stretch over a 17-game season, he will be a $15, $18 million a year player. Now, Robert Spillane, who's like a fine linebacker, got $11 million. So if you could lock him in for multiple years, even if you said, hey, this is going to be a 2-year, $20 million extension on top of your current contract. And then you throw some signing bonus money in there. So you get him for 26 and 27. But then you say, okay, but 12 million of that is guaranteed today at signing. So then you get to spread that money out. He gets almost the full guarantees of 2026. But then in 2026 and 2027, you're getting him at a below market rate. That seems appealing to me. And I would think would be appealing to him. That is life-changing money. $20 million, $12 million guaranteed. His whole rookie contract is $13 million. You're doubling his career earnings, basically. And then you're betting on, hey, look, he's going to improve. And if he doesn't, you've spent the signing bonus money. You'll eat some dead money at the end of the year, but I think that risk is worth the reward. Maybe you even let him play out 2026, and then you cut him after 2026. He doesn't even see the final year of that deal, which is whatever. You eat the leftover signing bonus money, and it's fine. That seems like a win-win-win to me. We'll see what the Packers ultimately do. Back tomorrow, much more to come here on Locked On Packers. We've got Chancellor Johnson coming next week to talk Matthew Golden, rookie orientation series. And we want to get to know these rookies a little bit better. So we're going to continue to do that as we move forward into the spring, into the summer. I guess it's already the spring. And so keep your eyes on your podcast feed. We'll be here Monday through Friday through the off season. We don't take days off. We don't take months off. We don't do that here. We do not do that here. So follow me on all the social media channels where you want to follow me. Just search my name. You'll find me. Instagram, same thing, all that stuff. The Locked On Packers page, all that good stuff. We put the clips out on TikTok, on Instagram. So check it out there. YouTube, wherever you get the YouTubes, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your computer, it'll always just be right there. So go find it so you can stay Locked On Packers.